The Dark Descent. How one trading scam almost ruined my life. I've been hesitant to share this story, but it feels like I need to let it out. Maybe someone out there can learn from my mistakes. Or maybe I'm just hoping this confession will finally give me some peace. Either way, here goes nothing. Back in 2019, I was a completely different person. I was fresh out of college with a business degree, full of ambition and a thirst for success. I'd been hearing everywhere that trading was the ticket to financial freedom. You know, the classic Instagram posts showing private jets, sports cars, and endless vacations. All those so-called gurus claimed they'd built their fortunes in Forex or crypto. And I thought, if they could do it, why can't I? I started small at first, reading up on basic trading strategies and dipping my toes into the market. It was nerve-wracking but exhilarating. My first few trades made me a little profit, enough to make me think, maybe I'm actually good at this. But what I didn't realize was that I was in way over my head. It's laughable. Now, thinking back to how I actually believed I was a trading prodigy after a few lucky wins, that confidence, that's what they prey on. The whole thing began when I stumbled upon a trading forum where people shared stories of their insider successes. The name that kept popping up was The Vault. It was supposedly an exclusive community where experienced traders shared secret, high-profit strategies that the general public would never know about. The catch? You had to be invited. It sounded shady, but the more I read, the more intrigued I became. Members claimed they were doubling, even tripling their accounts every week with It didn't take long for me to start commenting on their post, asking how I could join. I was practically begging for an invitation, desperate to be part of something big. I remember waiting for days, obsessively checking my inbox, hoping someone would reach out. Then one day, I got a message from a user named the Vault Keymaster. He said he'd seen my interest and was willing to give me a shot, but only if I agreed to invest a minimum buy-in of $10,000, 10 grand. It was all the money I had, but in my mind, it was a small price to pay for what seemed like a golden opportunity. Looking back, I can't believe I was so blinded by greed, but in that moment, I felt like I'd struck gold. I transferred the money, heart pounding, feeling like I was finally on the brink of something amazing. The Keymaster added me to a private Discord channel, and that's when things really took off. The group was full of people sharing their success stories, posting screenshots of massive gains, and thanking the Keymaster for his guidance. It was intoxicating, this sense of community and success. But here's the thing, no one was actually telling me how they made those profits. They just kept hinting at a secret formula that only the Keymaster knew. Every time I asked about the strategy, I got vague responses, like "you'll learn soon enough" or "trust the process," and I did trust it. Stupidly, I kept pouring money in, thinking it was just a matter of time before I saw the same kind of returns. After about a month, my account had barely grown, and I was starting to get worried. I messaged the Keymaster, and he reassured me, saying the big profits were just around the corner. He invited me to join an inner circle within the Vault, a group of elite traders who supposedly had access to even better signals and strategies. The catch? Another $15,000 buy-in. I was hesitant, but everyone in the group was saying how the inner circle was a game changer. They made it sound like it was the only way to actually make it in the Vault. So against my better judgment, I scraped together the money and joined. For the next few weeks, I was glued to my screen, watching every signal, every message, every tip. I was exhausted, barely sleeping, living off coffee and adrenaline, but my account was finally growing. The returns were coming in, small at first, but enough to make me believe it was working. Then one day, the Keymaster sent a message to the inner circle. He had an exclusive, time-sensitive investment opportunity that was guaranteed to yield massive returns. He said it was risky, but the rewards would be worth it. I was skeptical, but everyone in the group was jumping on board. They were transferring huge amounts, some even taking out loans to invest. I didn't want to be left out, so I took a leap of faith and put in every penny I had left. The Keymaster promised we'd see returns within a week, so I waited, refreshing my account obsessively, watching the numbers tick up, and then down. Within days, my entire account was wiped out. I was in shock. I tried reaching out to the Keymaster, but he was gone. The entire Discord server was gone. Every trace of the Vault erased as if it had never existed. I was devastated. I'd lost everything: my savings, my sanity, my faith in people. But the worst part, I wasn't the only one. I found others online who'd been scammed the same way, and we started piecing things together. The Keymaster was a professional con artist, running dozens of these elite trading groups under different names, all designed to lure in people like me and drain them dry. The fallout was brutal. I was in debt, struggling to make ends meet, and my mental health was in shambles. I'd isolated myself from my family and friends, ashamed of what I'd done. Every night, I lay awake, replaying every decision, every red flag I ignored. And that's the thing about greed, it blinds you. It makes you ignore the obvious, convincing you that you're special, that you're smarter than everyone else. But in the end, greed is what destroys you. I learned that the hard way, and I'm still picking up the pieces. If you're watching this and you're tempted by a shortcut to success, remember my story. Ask yourself, is it worth the risk?
Is it worth losing everything just for a chance at easy money?
Because more often than not, the only people getting rich in these schemes are the ones pulling the strings. The rest of us, we're just pawns in their game.so. Here I was, left with nothing but regret and a gnawing sense of humiliation. I was too embarrassed to tell anyone the full story, especially my family. Every time I thought about admitting that I'd fallen for something so obviously fraudulent, I felt this wave of shame crash over me. I mean, I was supposed to be the one who knew better, the one who could see through scams and shortcuts, and yet here I was, broke, humiliated, and alone. The first few weeks after the vault collapsed were brutal. I didn't want to leave my apartment. I barely ate, barely slept, just sat there in front of my computer, scrolling through endless forums and Reddit threads, searching for any trace of the Keymaster or the vault. It became this obsession. I thought that maybe, just maybe, I'd find some other victims who had managed to track him down, or that he'd slipped up somewhere, left a trail. I was desperate for anything that might give me a sliver of hope that I could get my money back. But there was nothing. The Keymaster had covered his tracks perfectly. It was as if he'd never existed. And that's when it really started to hit me this guy was a pro. He wasn't just some amateur trying to make a quick buck. He was a full-blown con artist. Someone who had probably done this to dozens, maybe even hundreds, of people before. And he would do it again. To someone else. Maybe even worse than he'd done to me. I was angry furious, actually.
Not just at him, but at myself. How had I been so blind? How had I let greed completely take over my judgment?
I started thinking about everything I'd lost. Not just financially, but emotionally. My relationships were strained because I had become so obsessed with the vault. I'd pushed people away, lied to them, and ignored their warnings. I realized that in my pursuit of easy success, I'd sacrificed everything that really mattered. But then, something unexpected happened. Just when I thought things could get worse, I received a private message on Reddit from a user I didn't recognize. His username was FinelJustice, and his message simply read, "I know what happened to you. I can help you find him." At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke or another
scam, but he sent another message, this time with a link to a private Discord server and instructions to join if I wanted to talk against my better judgment. I clicked on the link. At that point, I had nothing left to lose, so I figured, why not?
When I joined the server, I saw that it was filled with people just like me, people who had been scammed by the vault, all victims of the Keymaster. Some of them had lost thousands, others had lost hundreds of thousands, their life savings. It was heartbreaking to see how many people had fallen for the same trap. They shared their
stories, each one more tragic than the last, and for the first time since everything happened, I felt a sense of solidarity, like I wasn't alone in this nightmare. FinelJustice turned out to be a guy named Lucas, and he had a plan. He'd been following the Keymaster scams for years, tracking his movements, gathering intel, and
even setting up honeypot accounts to try to catch him in the act. Lucas was an ex-investigator who had made it his personal mission to stop con artists like the Keymaster. He told us that he was building a case, and that he needed our help to make it airtight. We spent weeks working with Lucas, sharing every detail we had about the Keymaster, every message, every transaction. We dug through old emails, bank statements, anything that might lead us to a real name or location. It was exhausting, and there were times when it felt hopeless, like we were chasing a ghost. But then, out of nowhere, Lucas hit pay dirt. One of the victims, a guy named Ben, had been scammed recently, and he'd managed to get screenshots of some interactions that showed a real name, someone linked to a small crypto startup in Eastern Europe. It was a long shot, but Lucas followed the lead. and after days of digging, he found a trail that led directly to our guy. The Keymaster wasn't just scamming people online.
He was laundering the money through various shell companies, all registered to this startup.
It was a massive operation, and he was making millions. With the evidence in hand, Lucas took the case to international authorities. They were able to freeze some of the accounts and seize a portion of the money, though it wasn't nearly enough to cover everyone's losses. But the real win.
They arrested the Keymaster. It turns out he was wanted in several countries for fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. He'd been pulling scams like the Vault for nearly a decade, leaving a trail of ruined lives behind him. When I got the news, I felt this overwhelming mix of emotions.
Relief, satisfaction, even a little bit of closure, but the money I'd lost was gone, and the damage to my life couldn't be undone. I was still deep in debt, still struggling to rebuild my life. The scars from this experience would never fully heal, but at least I knew that he was finally going to face justice. I'll never forget. The lesson I learned from all of this: greed, shortcuts, and the allure of easy money had cost me everything, and I nearly lost myself in the process. If you're listening to this, and you think you're too smart to get scammed, think again. Scammers prey on our deepest desires, our weaknesses, and our fears.
They know exactly how to make us believe what they want us to believe. In the end, there's no easy path to success. Real wealth, real happiness, it's built slowly, with hard work, honesty, and patience. I had to lose everything to learn it, but I hope you don't have to. So, here's my advice. Be cautious, question everything, and never, ever ignore your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let greed blind you the way it blinded me. Because once you go down that path, there's no telling how far you'll fall. I wish I could say I walked away from all of this unscathed, but the truth is, the impact of the Keymaster's scam still lingers in my life. The debt is still there, the trust issues still haunt me, and I still find myself looking over my shoulder, wondering if there's another Keymaster out there, waiting to prey on someone else. It's been a long road to recovery, and I'm not quite there yet, but I can finally see the light. I've started talking to friends and family again, sharing my story with those close to me. It's hard to admit how foolish I was, but it's the first step toward healing, and I think that's why I'm telling this story now, to take another step, to warn others, to try and prevent someone else from making the same mistakes I did. You don't have to fall for it. If you're looking for success, look within yourself, not to some smooth-talking stranger who promises you the world. Real wealth isn't built on shortcuts. Real success isn't about chasing the next big thing. It's about working hard, staying humble, and building something that lasts. I learned that the hard way, and if this story
resonates with you, maybe, just maybe, it was worth going through all that pain. Maybe if this helps even one person avoid a scam, it was worth it. Remember, scams don't just take your money, they can take your time, your trust, and your peace.
Don't let anyone steal those from you. Thank you for listening to my story. Take it to heart, and stay safe out there.
Be vigilant. Trust yourself. Don't let anyone make you think success is just one secret formula way. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story helpful or powerful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone you think might need to hear it. Subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories, advice, and eye-opening experiences. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video. Have a story to share? Drop it in the comments or send it our way. We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep learning, growing, and protecting each other. Stay safe, stay smart, and we'll see you in the next one.